While Ola Electric has been stumbling, Ather has been doing all the right things. They are expanding smartly, building trust, and now they're right behind Ola in the EV race. And so it's starting to look like slow and steady might actually win this one. Welcome to our weekly Indian startup news show. I'm Caleb Friesen, your host, and you're watching Backstage with Millionaires. And before we jump into the news this week, this channel is part of the 01 network by Zerodha. So just about a year ago, Ola Electric was the clear winner. They were leading the pack when it came to India's electric scooter market. They had 39% market share, but now they've slipped to third place. In July of 2025, Ola sold just over 17,000 electric scooters, down sharply from more than 40,000 during the same time last year. And this slide hasn't gone unnoticed. Ola's stock is down nearly 45% from its listing price. On the other hand, Ather is gaining ground. They sold over 16,000 scooters in July, holding a 15.78% market share, just a notch behind Ola. And the real growth driver here is the Rizta. This one scooter now makes up nearly 60% of Ather's sales and has crossed the 1 lakh unit mark within a year of launch. And it's priced between 99,000 and 1.14 lakh rupees. And customers seem to love this vehicle. And that shows in their stock price as well, which has gone up nearly 30% since their listing in May of 2025. But that's not the only thing that Ather is doing right. They're also expanding rather quickly. The company went from 351 stores in March to 446 in July, with plans to reach 700 by the end of the financial year. Most of this growth is happening in middle India, states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Madhya Pradesh, where their market share has doubled. And that's because Ather believes this region has historically been underserved, making it key for growth. Now, it is worth noting that while the competition between Ather and Ola Electric is heating up, it's actually TVS and Bajaj that are actually leading the market. TVS topped July with over 22,000 units sold, grabbing a 21.6% share of the market, and then Bajaj followed with nearly 20,000 scooters and a 19.1% share. All right, next up in the news, an Indian space tech startup is setting up their first commercial satellite into space, and they're doing it with SpaceX. The company here is called Dhruva Space. They're based out of Hyderabad, and their mission, which is called Leap 1, is set to launch later this year on one of Elon Musk's Falcon 9 rockets. Now, this isn't a test, it's a proper commercial mission. Like I said, with real customers here, the satellite will carry two high-tech payloads built by Australian companies. The first one is Nexus 01, which is an AI system that can process data directly in space, and the other one is OTR2, which is basically a camera that captures super detailed images of Earth, useful for things like farming, weather, disaster tracking, and even defense. And what makes this launch special is that Dhruva's P30 satellite platform is the thing that is actually enabling this to happen. You can think of it kind of like a reusable mini satellite body where you can plug in different tech depending on the mission. It saves time, cuts costs, and makes it easier for other companies to send stuff to space without starting from scratch. And Dhruva is already tested this tech with ISRO in 2024, and so now they're taking it global. All right, next up in the news, it looks like Swiggy is exploring a potential breakup with Rapido. So here's what's going on. Swiggy, as you know, is one of India's biggest food delivery apps, but in the last couple of years, they've been going all in on Instamart, their quick commerce service that provides the delivery of groceries and essentials in under 15 minutes. And so to make this work, Swiggy has actually been using a mix of its own delivery fleet and third-party providers like Rapido. Now, Swiggy actually owns a small stake in Rapido. The two have been working together for a while, but that relationship might be coming to an end because Swiggy wants more control. See, they're building out their own in-house logistics network, which means that Swiggy no longer wants to rely so heavily on outside partners like Rapido, and it's like realizing you'd rather drive your own car than continue to borrow someone else's. But here's the thing, Rapido isn't just doing bike taxis anymore. They're also expanding now into delivery services, and of course that puts them in direct competition competition with Swiggy's logistics ambitions. And so now they're not just partners, they're kind of rivals too. And this creates what Swiggy seems to think of as a conflict of interest. If Rapido is also offering delivery solutions to others, or even building their own delivery-led business, how tightly can Swiggy really work with them? That's why Swiggy is now exploring options to exit its investment into Rapido. And this shows how companies like Swiggy are thinking long-term, owning the full delivery chain instead of depending on outsiders, which of course gives them more control, better margins, and faster deliveries. Okay, now let's move into some quick news updates here. First of all, again, talking about Swiggy, they've launched something called Desk Eats. It's basically a new feature in their app that helps office goers order food more easily during the workday, and it's already live in 30 cities across tech parks and office hubs. Next, we have PharmEasy's co-founder Siddharth Shah stepping down as CEO, and he will be succeeded by Rahul Guha, who is the CEO of ThyroCare, a public company that PharmEasy acquired in 2021. And then finally, Tesla has officially launched its first charging station in India, right in the heart of Mumbai, and it plans to open more across the country as it ramps up its operations. All right, next up, I asked you all what you had built this week, and many people replied, so here are my 3 favorite picks. So first of all, we have Heuristics AI built by Fahad. Heuristics AI is kind of like a virtual testing ground where businesses and policymakers can run what-if scenarios using AI-generated fake people, also called synthetic populations. So let's say a company wants to launch a new social media app that focuses on privacy. Well, instead of spending months doing surveys or launching it blindly, they can use Heuristics AI to simulate how different groups of people, like, for example, teenagers or parents or professionals, might react. And it even shows things like purchase intent, sentiment breakdown, and key motivations or concerns, helping teams make smarter decisions before they even launch. Next, we have Vidhi, built by Mayank Thakur. Vidhi is a tool that helps you by creating interactive guides automatically as soon as you send a message. So you can imagine you're using a new app and you get stuck in that app. So instead of searching through help docs or waiting for support, you just type a question like, how do I update my profile? And with Vidhi, the app replies instantly, not with a boring answer, but with an interactive step-by-step guide that walks you through the process right inside of the app. And then finally, we have Final Run by Ashish and Arnold. Final Run is like ChatGPT for app testing. You can just tell it what to test in simple English, and it runs it for you, saving you time and making the entire testing process simpler. So let's say that you're building an app. Instead of hiring a QA team to manually click through everything and check if it works, you can just tell Final Run something like add 2 items to the cart and check out. And the AI will understand that, run the test, and check if everything works properly. All right, next up, let's move into the funding news segment for today's video. This week, Indian startups raised $187 million, which is quite a bit higher than last week's $63 million. It's also above the trend line. So let's take a look at some of the companies that raised funds this week. The first one I want to talk about here is Mumbai-based The Sleep Company, which sells home furnishing products like mattresses, pillows, bedding, cushions, and sofas. They've raised 480 crore rupees. That's $56 million in their Series D round. After that, we have Pune-based gaming studio Super Gaming, and they're building high-quality mobile games. Their most popular game is Indus Battle Royale, a made-in-India, culture-rich battle royale game that already crossed 9 million downloads and is expanding globally, starting with Latin America. And they raised $15 million in their Series B round. Following that, we have Hyderabad-based clean tech startup Hyliner, which is working on cold fusion. It's the futuristic clean energy that scientists have been chasing for decades. And unlike traditional nuclear reactors that need extreme heat and leave behind radioactive waste, Hyliner's system runs at low temperatures, uses tiny amounts of hydrogen and nickel, and creates clean heat energy with 0 emissions and no dangerous byproducts. And they've already built working prototypes that produce more energy than they consume. And if this works at scale, then they would actually be able to power homes, factories, and even space missions with this ultra-safe, compact energy source. And they've raised $3 million in their pre-Series A round. Then after that, we have Bengaluru-based Zovian Aerospace, which is building a smarter way to monitor the world from space. Instead of relying on traditional satellite images, they're working on a fleet of AI-powered satellites that can listen to radio signals, like signals from ships, planes, or even defense systems, and turn that into real-time intelligence. It's kind of like giving satellites ears or brains so that they can capture radio data and make sense of it instantly. And they raised $2.5 million in their pre-seed round. And then finally, finally, we have Chandigarh-based Terrafac, which is transforming factory robots into smart, adaptable workers using AI vision. Their first product, WeldT, turns regular industrial robots into welding experts that can adjust on the fly. So instead of reprogramming for each new shape or job, the robot just sees what it needs to do and gets the job done, making them perfect for factories where things change all the time. And they've raised 6.5 crore rupees, that's about $800,000 in their pre-seed round. All right, that is all the Indian startup news that I have for you all this week. I'm Caleb Friesen, and this has been Backstage with Millionaires. I'll catch you in the next one.